13th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Time for the regular school board meeting of the West ISD Board of Trustees. Pursuant to Governor Abbott's temporary suspension of open meetings laws issued on March the 16th of 2020, this regular board meeting of the West ISD Board of Trustees will be conducted via video conference and telephone call. The video conference will be audible to the board and to the public and allow for two-way communication. The Board of Trustees will not be physically present at one location, but a quorum will be required for the meeting on the video conference or phone. The public may access this virtual meeting via the link found on the calendar on the West ISD website at www.westisd.net. A link to the online agenda is also available under the board header on the same website. Any public comments must be submitted between 8 a.m. on Monday, January the 11th and 4 p.m. on Tuesday, January the 12th, 2021 by emailing the comments to publiccomment@westisd.net. All public comments will be submitted to this email address and will be read to the Board of Trustees for consideration. I now call this meeting to order and verify that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called. This meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, I would direct your attention to the screen with David Truitt, and Board Member John Crowder will lead the Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer. Thank you, John.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Father, we want to thank you again for the opportunity to speak together. We look forward to the day that we can actually gather again. Lord, we come to you once again, as we did last time, grieving the problems that our nation faces. We ask you that you would bring clarity, Lord, that you'd bring peace and understanding among us. And tonight we ask your blessings on this meeting. We pray, Lord, that you'd help us to understand some fairly complex issues, help us to communicate well and to have clarity of thought, give us wisdom, and then give us courage to make those decisions that are within your will and what's best for the students in our district. We pray for it all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. All right, that brings us to the recognition part of our agenda, and I will turn the meeting over to Mr. Truitt at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Sparks. It's our favorite agenda item of the night, where we get to recognize some fabulous kids and adults. I'd like to start off by welcoming a number of students to our board meeting tonight. It's that time of year when our West High School dual credit government kids have to observe a meeting such as a school board meeting, and I see a number of them on the Zoom tonight. So welcome, young people. I hope you have a great time hanging out with us tonight. But January for everybody is School Board Appreciation Month. Yeah! Woo! Let's hear it for our amazing school board. And of course, I prepared a few words, and we have many gifts. This year, the TASB Board Recognition Month theme is Navigating to Success, and it has a picture of a sailboat on the sea. Dr. Sparks had joked with me in a meme earlier this week about it was the Titanic, and had a student with the Titanic life preserver around them, which was very fitting with so far this year. But if you think about it, joking aside, it's the perfect theme or metaphor for our current school year. On that ship, you'd definitely find safety and navigation gear, and boy, we needed it this year. I did some math here, and from January through December of 2020, our board has taken part in 21 meetings lasting almost 4,000 minutes. And this collection of minutes doesn't even count all the reading of my many emails, taking my phone calls, talking face-to-face, attending trainings, or their favorite use of their time cheering on our students and staff and families at their events and activities. This year in particular, the board has faced some unprecedented challenges due to COVID-19 and our many response plans to help ensure the safety of our community. And I think everybody on this Zoom will agree that COVID-19 has helped remind us of the indispensable value of education in our schools and the lives of our kids. Even though the many CDC, TEA, UIL, local health authority, and even things I've thought up, mandates, requests, they've always focused on providing the best education possible for our kids, which I know is at the heart of every one of these 7 individuals' service to our community. They do it all without a complaint or saying they don't have time, and all for no pay and little recognition. I love starting January each year with this recognition month, but really this should be a recognition for the entire school year. Our board members, while always ensuring children as our first priority, are Dr. Larry Sparks, President, Holly Willis, Vice President, Lee Crawshaw, Secretary, Ken Skora, Dr. John Crowder, Mike Garrick, and Jason Yannick. Our staff and kids and community have many gifts for you, along with several IOUs that whenever we can finally get in person. I know our high school culinary arts club has desserts, and our FFA and ag kids have a steak dinner waiting you. But in the meantime, we'll deliver athletic gear, shirts, a special stadium seat, lots of candy treats, some incredible cookie cutters, some shirts, and I can't thank our different campuses, TSA, FFA, athletics, you name it. There's stuff here on my desk for you guys. So just a quick shot here of some of the goodies. I kind of did a little display here, but you can see some of the incredible things coming your way. Just a token of our appreciation, board members. We love you guys and can't thank you enough for all you do for the students, staff, and families of West. Let's give it up for our school board. I know this is a little different than face-to-face, but thank you guys. And I promise not to eat your steaks and candy chairs, but we'll see how that goes. All right, thank you, Dr. Sparks. Again, welcome students to the meeting tonight. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Those wonderful looking gifts. Can't wait to take and see them in person. Thank you, David, for being kind enough to take and send us a photo shot of them and stuff, and the many humorous jokes back and forth. That time, it now brings us to agenda item number 6, which is the audience. And Mr. Truitt, do we have anyone who requested to speak or say anything? All right.
We do not.
Thank you. That brings us to agenda item number 7, which is an action item. It's the consideration and possible action by the board to approve the consent agenda. You've had the opportunity to look it over and present any questions if needed. At this time, the floor is open for a motion to accept the consent agenda with the exception of item 7B2A, which is a payment to Socorro Family Ford for $465.37. Would someone please make a motion? Okay, Kenny has made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Holly or Lee?
Lee.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda as outlined, please say aye or show of hands.
Aye.
Okay. All right, looks like 7. Any opposing? There are none. Okay. At this time, the floor is open for a motion to accept the consent agenda item 7B2A, which is a payment to Socorro Family Ford for $465.37.
So moved.
Okay. Holly,
Second.
was that you? And Lee,
Second.
second. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda for that, a payment of $465.37, please say aye or show of hands. I think there's 6 there.
Yep.
Those opposed or abstaining?
One abstention.
Okay. Kenny abstains. Thank you very much, board. That brings us now to our reports for the administrative campus reports. And Mr. Truitt, I'll turn it over to you again.
Thank you, sir. As usual, I know you all had a chance to peruse the department and campus reports in your packet. So let me start there. Does anyone have any questions from what was submitted? Seeing no hands, I did pull 3 items because you know I love to. I wanted to kick off with sharing of screen for one document that kind of has some public health updates in it. So let me pull this up. All right, can everybody see my PowerPoint? All right, this one's short, just 2 slides. First, wanted to share with you the fabulous job that our families, staff, and students are doing across.
We don't see your.
Yeah, it's not showing the PowerPoint, just these, it shows your screen, but not the PowerPoint.
My bad. I needed to already have the box open. You think we would have this down by now? My bad. All right, 1 second. Here it is. Share. Yes. Can you see now?
Now, very good.
Yay! Us old fogies can figure out Zoom. All right, here's our data from Tuesday, January 12th. I'm proud to announce again the incredible job our community is doing. You can see at the elementary, 12 cases with 1 positive, 11 quarantine. Middle school, 2 positive, 5 quarantine for a total of 7. West High School, 2 positive, 10 quarantine for a total of 12. Brookhaven, 0, and then our admin team, including maintenance, custodians, and cafeteria, child nutrition team, there's 1 quarantine. So you can see at the bottom, 5, 27, 32. You always ask, and I share about how many of those are staff as we think about subbing needs. And you can see we had 3 positive cases out of those figures that are staff. So 3 out of the 5 are adults on our team. And then we have 1 quarantine situation with our custodians. And so I can't thank our folks enough, especially when we were worried about a spike after New Year's in particular. We'll see how the snow day, if folks got out or if they stayed in their family units, to see if we have a new data trend there. But since Halloween, we are still trending downward. So I cannot thank, again, everyone enough for all the attention they're paying to our COVID-19 risk mitigation guidelines. Wanted to share another slide just with a few updates because there's not many since we've been back. First off, as you know, we use TRS for our staff insurance, and we received an email in the last 24 hours that they'll pay for the vaccination. And I want you to know that to date, we have 2 staff members that have received it, and others are considering it, particularly with our staff members that have the category of other health concerns, struggles, and of course, y'all are aware that the other one's the over 65 right now. We're awaiting word still when the rest of our staff can consider doing this, but we've heard that we're supposed to be in the next group around 3. There's no CDC updates since the quarantine period and close contact guidelines were updated. As you're aware, quarantine period's now 7 and 10 days, and the close contact is not just 6 minutes consecutive, it's total, and that's the last word we've heard anything so far. Our return to play plan is getting a lot of updates to it. I met with Coach Woodard last week, and he sent me some outlines of some things that we'll include with the football, volleyball, and basketball guidelines, because we've got powerlifting, baseball, softball, track, and golf coming. Powerlifting, the way we'll do it this year is each school will lift just as a school at a certain time, followed by the other schools as they come through. We'll also limit the number of teams participating in those meets. For baseball and softball, when we have tournaments, the number of teams will be limited, especially at different times throughout the day. For the games, the big change, of course, is similar to basketball and football. We'll have to do 50% of our stands, skip a row in the stands, or that the family units and fan groups are 6 feet apart. That's really going to cut down on attendance opportunities at our games. So we're going to really limit the visitors' tickets and make sure our softball and baseball players have tickets to give out to their family and loved ones so they can come to their games. The track meets will also have limited participants, will be spread out over multiple days and in between events. And golf didn't have an audience anyway, and so that one's a little easier to schedule because you don't have parents in the stands and such. And so we'll make sure we have all that lined out as well. As a reminder, the remote instruction piece that we're really targeting right now are quarantine and isolation students. So just as a reminder, when we say remote at this point in the semester, as we switch over from the fall to spring here this week, that we're just making sure our kids that are at home for those two reasons are still having access to their work. So at this time, I'll take any questions about those two slides or anything else that you have related to COVID-19. All right, the next two items that I put down for pull out, we're getting a lot of questions about prom. And of course, at our last meeting, Mr. Clander shared an update on graduation. We're gonna do our senior class student and parent meeting here in the next 2 weeks here at the end of January. But I also wanted Mr. Clander to share some news about how we think we can make prom happen in April. I know we've got a lot of students on here that'll be thrilled to hear we're doing our best to make that happen. So take it away, Mr. Clander, share some good news and how we're gonna get out there on the dance floor and boogie.
All right, we can't wait to see Mr. Truitt out dancing this year. So looking forward to it. As long as he stays socially distanced, we'll be good with that. Just a couple of things. Talking with some of our sponsors, they've selected the April 10th date for our prom to be held at Casey Hall. We're still talking with other districts and kind of looking at some different options as far as social distancing, what type of things, some ideas that other districts may have. What we can do to make sure that we keep all our students safe, but also having a good time and making a memorable occasion. Last year, we were able to do a prom. This year, we feel like we can do probably better than what we had last year because we do have a longer period of time to prepare ahead of time with that. But there will be a few more restrictions, things like masks and things like that. So a lot of those details we're still working through and trying to get some ideas again from other districts, trying to get what's going to be best for our kids. The good thing about the Casey Hall, as you all know, it has a large enough capacity. We shouldn't have to worry about attendance. But one area that we are hearing more and more from neighboring districts is limiting the attendance to just students that we have, not allowing outside guests to come in because of a health control, things of that nature. So those would be some things that we'll definitely be looking at. We may even visit with some of our students and some of our parents as well when we have our next set of meetings. So those are things that are still on our agenda to consider.
Thank you, sir. Any questions that we can answer about prom or even circling back to graduation from our last meeting? All right, seeing no one, let's go to our next pull-out item. I've asked Ms. Cosda, because this is an item associated with our Effective Schools Framework and our Race to an A that we've discussed a lot about this missing piece to our literacy framework. So Ms. Cosda is going to share an update on the new phonics program at West Elementary.
Thank you. I spoke with Ms. Adams quite a while back about the teachers' need and want for a phonics curriculum to pair with FNP that we currently have. And Fountas and Pinnell that we have for reading and language arts is a great program for us or curriculum, but we know that there were some phonics components that we needed to add. FNP shows, it'll tell you within each week what phonics skills you need to hit, but the instruction isn't explicit. And when you don't give explicit instructions, it seems like from teacher to teacher, it was being rolled out a little bit differently. And we want it more consistent and tight so that when they go from grade level to grade level, the students all have the same knowledge. So we got with Miss Adams and she looked at the state approved list of phonics programs and gave us 3 to study. We studied those, met in PLT meetings, and the teachers were able to vote last week in PLT. And I'm excited to say that kinder, first, and second grade teachers all voted, and the vote was 13-0, which was great. They all chose Foundations, and Foundations seems to be a program that you see a lot in this area. We've noticed Robinson ISD uses it, China Spring uses it, and we have teachers that have feelers in those areas, and so they're able to reach out to those teachers as we implement it with FNP, because those districts also use FNP. So we'll be able to network with them, and it'll be even easier for us to roll out than it was for them. We even had some of the teachers in those districts that are doing remote learning or virtual learning. We had them send us some of their videos of their lessons so that we could see them. And so we're excited to get that going as soon as it's ordered and comes to us. And we know that an important part of it working properly is that we're trained. And so we're going to make sure that we are trained well before we give it to the teachers.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions that Ms. Costa can answer? I'm just thrilled that the teachers sought out this resource, and the vote was unanimous, and it was so thorough in how they studied the different options that Ms. Adams found. And I think it's going to be a fabulous addition to our literacy framework for our students and strengthen their education even more. So thank you to the elementary teachers on tonight. Appreciate your help and support and desire to have this. So as usual, if y'all have things you need, just ask us and let's see what we can do to support you.
And I did want to add, I forgot to say, Mr. Truitt, that this Foundations Phonics curriculum, it also has a writing component with it. And that'll ensure that the students are learning to form their letters correctly at the kindergarten, first grade level, but then also in second grade, whenever they teach cursive handwriting, that they're all learning it consistently.
Good. Well, thank you. Do you have anything else for us, David? All right. Agenda item number 9 is a report, and that is going to be the first reading of the Texas Association of School Boards, known as TASB, Policy Service Update 116. This TASB policy update includes the review of the following West ISD local policies: CQB local, technology resources, cybersecurity, DCD local, employment practices, at-will employment, FFAC local, wellness and health services, medical treatment, and GKA local, community relations, conduct on school premises. And that's going to cover district goals 1 through 5. And Mr. Truitt's going to give us a report.
Thank you. As you can see on your screen, we're literally going to go through the policy samples. And as usual, the blue type is new language, and the red with the strike throughs is what's going away. As Dr. Sparks mentioned, there's 4 local policies. We're doing the first reading on tonight, and then I'll seek your approval on these 4 policies at the February board meeting. This will give you a chance to ask questions over the next month, let it marinate, and see if there's something else you want us to consider in the blue language that you're seeing. The first one is CQB local, about technology resources and cybersecurity, as Dr. Sparks mentioned. And this one, as you can see there in the middle, you guys have worked on this, and I know there's a few more that need to finish this. We even have some staff, we're still getting through this. But this is all about the new cybersecurity training. And so you can see that it's up to me. You've delegated me this responsibility that we complete this annually. And it says each employee, so that's all staff and all of you, the 7 board members. And then we've got a compliance report that you can see there that must be verified and according to the guidance from the Department of Information Resources. So you can see that's the big change on that policy. And as you know, again, we were already working on that. So just the language is catching up to the law there. For DCD local, you can see it's only this part at the bottom about appealing through DGBA local for dismissal related to, in this case, this is in the section about at-will employment. And so just anytime that there's a situation where one of our at-will employees isn't asked back, you can see that there's an appeal piece here. And as always, any of our employees can appeal at any time through the different avenues. As you know, there's 3 different ways through policy. So this one is the employment actions, as you can see there, and they're just putting this language in there to make sure they understand their rights. Next policy, FFAC local, is wellness and health services. The easiest way to explain this one is about who can dispense medication. And so we've got practices in place that our nurses at the 3 campuses follow. And so you can see here that I can designate there in the middle in the blue employees who are authorized to administer medication. But notice that next language, that's been administered, or excuse me, provided by the student's parents. And an authorized employee then is permitted to administer it in accordance with administrative regulations. Now, this next part is going to cause a little bit of some challenges in communication throughout our community because it says the district shall not purchase medication and administer it to students. And this is a change because, as you know, if a student needs aspirin or something, a lot of times we'll have it on hand and we'll call the parent and ask if we can provide it to them. The parent will say yes, and we'll give it to the child. Just to be clear on this, this says must be provided by the student's parent. And so we'll make sure that our nurses are following this guideline and that this information is provided to our parents in a school messenger. Then under medical treatment, this blue section, the lawful control annually complete and sign a form that provides emergency information and addresses authorization regarding medical treatments. This section, as you know, at the beginning of the year, Amanda has, or excuse me, Mrs. Adams, always has our returning students updates, our forms in Skyward, and of course our new families. So you can see that there's emergency care information that we're already collecting, that we're seeking, and this is just putting it into policy. This is already a practice, so I just want to make sure y'all understand this is just some language catching up to FFAC local. And that's it. 4 easy ones. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't go through them all. GKA local, community relations or conduct on school premises. You know, recently we've been updating our policy about removal of individuals in our community, parents from campus, if they their actions or their behavior deem it. The policy used to just say that they could look at an appeal over 90 days, and TASB's gone back and added the recommendation of calendar days to specify school business versus calendar there for the initial complaint. So this policy only has that 1-word update to specify that timeline. And now that's it. All right. Any questions that I can answer?
Any board members have questions? Well, thank you, David. Very good. Very good.
All right. Thank you.
Agenda item number 10 is a report. It's on the Texas School Safety Center, TXSSC, District Safety Audit Report Update. And Jana Protka, our EOP coordinator, is going to provide that to us. Jana, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. On January 4th, when all of the teachers came in for professional development that day, we met with the front office staff and went over our new visitor management guidelines. They're in the purple in your packet that you received, if you received it or not. But on the new visitor management guidelines, we just went over holding on to driver's license when they come through and, you know, getting them the visitor's pass. I didn't want to go through all this with you, but to keep you too long. But there's new guidelines in there for what we have to do. It's a letter that we will send out to parents to make sure that they know. Of course, we don't have a lot of visitors on campus this year because of COVID, but in the situation that we get to go back to normal visitors, these are the guidelines that we would follow. And if someone was to come for a meeting, then we would have someone come and meet them at the office, walk them to the place where they're meeting them, or, you know, in that such. And so they'll get the visitor tag as they leave. Our front office staff will keep it. They'll note the time, and then they will also give them back their driver's license at that time. So they will need that if they need to leave the building, so they won't forget it. So it'll just give us a good way of having them check in and out with us. The other thing that we went over with our front office staff was the bomb threat call procedures. I can't talk tonight, I'm sorry. These are actually given from Homeland Security on what we would use, and we just helped them to understand you know, what their position would be on the phone if these things happened, if something came in like this, and things that we need them to remember, who to call, the procedures for all of that. It went over quite well. We didn't have a lot of questions, but that's pretty much my update. Mr. Truitt, do you have anything to add, or are we good?
Other updates, we went over our deliveries and how they must all come to our maintenance warehouse and not to the campuses directly. So we discussed that with the front office ladies. And we also are currently working on the signage we mentioned during Ms. Protka's last presentation last month, that we're getting that organized for the front of the buildings. We also have organized the additional radio order. The first wave has worked even better than we had hoped. And what we've learned is there's additional folks around the district that need to be on those as well. I believe that's everything. Ms. Protka, did you think of anything else?
I was going to say, our radios, you know, we were worried about them reaching from campus to campus, but today I had to meet someone at our new house that we're building, and my radio was still working on 1503 North Davis Street today. So I thought that was pretty cool, but that we could reach each other. So I'm very happy with those and happy to get our next round in for everyone. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Are we clear that the visitor includes a spouse of an employee that might be going to a classroom or something?
Oh, yes.
Actually came up, and they must come through the front office as well and not a side door. We'll send a memo out, even our own staff needs to go through the front office and not come in a side door. Maintenance and such, folks coming to repair things on campus, doing elevator inspections. Everyone must go through the front. And so we're gonna reinforce that in some communications after tonight. We just wanted to go over it with you guys first.
Good. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jana.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. Okay. Agenda item number 11 is an action item. It's consideration and possible action by the board to approve the House Bill 3 district and board goals in the areas of early childhood literacy and mathematics proficiency, known as ECLM, and college, career, and military readiness, CCMR. And Amanda Adams is going to present that for us tonight.
I'm actually going to jump in first because you know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, little introduction. I just want to thank Dr. Crowder, Ms. Willis, and Ms. Crawshaw for giving us a few hours on Monday night to do some prep work for tonight. I'd also like to thank Mrs. Adams for creating all the materials and leading us through a very meaningful and productive night about early childhood literacy and mathematics work in our district. On one end of the spectrum, and then the other end, our seniors and their plans for life after West High School. So we're ready to share our findings and our plan recommendations. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Adams to go through what we discussed, but I'd also like to encourage those 3 board members that served on that subcommittee to jump in at any time and share some of the things we discussed the other night and your thoughts on how we came to some of the conclusions that Mrs. Adams is going to present. So thank you again. All right, take it away, Amanda.
Thank you, Mr. Britt. I'm going to share my screen. Let me get that open. Hopefully. Good?
Yes.
Okay. As Mr. Truitt mentioned, we met as a subcommittee on Monday night, and these are our recommendations for the 3 goals that were from House Bill 3 dealing with early childhood literacy, as well as math in early childhood and CCMR at the other end of the spectrum. With House Bill 3, unlike our ESF, which is our goal set by the district using a framework put out by TEA, HB3 is a different situation, and it is based off of the 60 by 30 Texas plan, which means that 60% of the students in Texas will, if they're a third grade student, they'll be on grade level in math and reading by the year 2030. And of all high school seniors will graduate with an industry-based certification or a college-ready status or a military-ready status by the year 2030. So that's what this goal-setting workshop was based around. However, before I go into too much detail, it was important to the subcommittee, knowing that we already have our Effective Schools Framework Vision 2020 plan in place, to mesh these two plans into one that we could give our stakeholders and make sure that we are all working towards the same goals. So that's what we spent our time Monday night doing, is making sure that we follow our already set vision and included the House Bill 3 requirements. So for House Bill 3, the specific plan requirements for literacy and math require us as a district to set annual goals for growth for all students in third grade math and reading on the STAR assessment over a 5-year period. It also asks us to look at the Closing the Gaps Domain 3, which splits our students into different demographic groups and set goals for those groups. Part of that would include a specific targeted professional development for our staff and teachers working with any student up through grade 3 to make sure they're prepared to meet these goals and help our students to meet these goals. And then we were asked to look at annual goals for any ESL students through our ESL program, which we included in our Domain 3. HB3 does a lot of work to prioritize early literacy and math. So while we're looking at the House Bill 3, the requirement was for our goal to specifically address third grade. However, it's best practice for us to look at all grades leading to third grade. Our students don't magically come into existence in third grade, and our pre-K through 2 teachers have a huge part in how they'll perform as third graders. So we wanted to approach this as a team effort, which is suggested but not required. So you'll see us have some pre-K through 2 goals as well. On the other end of the spectrum, the complete opposite end, we talk about seniors and the college and career military readiness indicators. And we'll talk more specifically about that towards the end of this presentation. But part of our requirement under this House Bill 3 goal setting workshop was to come up with goals for that CCMR, both collectively as a student body and broken down into those different demographic areas. So the subcommittee set out to set these goals based on hard data. So we got those data points from our targets. This is just a snippet of what targets are given to us in the accountability system for the different demographic areas. So we took a hard look at all the data points to come up with our goals. And so I'd like to present our suggested goal for early childhood literacy for the outcome. Remember, this is a 5-year goal, taking into account a baseline year of 2020. Because of our situation in the state where we did not take the STAR test, we had to go back to the year 2019's data and reflect that in the 2020 year. So our 2020 baseline data is listed there on this document. We would like for our goal to be for our meets and masters, so on grade level or above, student performance on STAR reading to increase from 48% to 64% in the year of June 2024. Let me specifically remind everyone that those percentages represent a different number when you scale it for accountability. For purposes of the A through F rating, this goal would have us as third grade reading reach an A in the year 2023. So we would significantly move up the scale through this 5-year plan to reach in the year 2024, we would have a 91 in third grade reading with this specific percentage that is presented in the goal. For some perspective, if you're looking at that 48% in the 2020 baseline year, that is a high 70. or mid-70s. So we're moving our kids along with our goal, which lines with our ESF plan, which we've been doing some relooking at as well, to hit that A in 2023. At the bottom of this chart, you're going to see the different student groups broken down, and each demographic area has a different target based on what is provided us by the federal portion of our accountability system. And so those goals are in line with that as well to help us meet our overall goal. I'll pause here in case anyone has something from the subcommittee to add or any questions, board.
Not so far.
Okay. If you'll remember, I mentioned that we also wanted to include, our team has done a lot of work years to become a really cohesive team at elementary, and our pre-K through 2 teachers contribute greatly to the 3rd grade outcome as well as our 3rd grade teachers. So we've built in progress measures as a subcommittee of what those goals would look like for those grade levels. So as you can see on your screen, we're wanting to move our pre-K circle performance up in a similar fashion to that STAR goal for 3rd grade. So this supports our students in pre-K being ready for kinder. And then you see the kinder goal, that's based on a state test that we're required to give called TEX-KIA. So these percentages as well mirror, although the numbers look different because they're not scaled the same way as a STAR test, they represent the same type of growth that you'll see in our 3rd grade goal in STAR reading. We also set a similar goal for 1st and 2nd grade based on their iReady benchmarking system. And remember, that is a new tool for us, but it is similar to what we've been using for years, iStation, and is scaled similarly, but a little different than STAR. So these numbers look a little different as they move up through the years, but will help support our 3rd grade teachers and students to be able to reach that A in 2023 and 24. To reach this goal, we went back and looked at our current Vision 2020 ESF plan and pulled the pieces of that plan that are either in progress or we are continuing to work towards, and made sure that they lined up with the goals we set for House Bill 3. Because as you remember, I mentioned earlier, we want to have one unified plan that all the teachers and families can know we're working towards. And so on your screen now, you see on the left the things that we are currently doing or plan to do over this cycle of goal years, and the ways we check it on the right throughout the year. 3 to 4 times per year, we have all of these monitoring events that help us know if we're on track to meet our goal. So all of those goals are already included in our ESF plan, but we did add, as Ms. Costa talked earlier, the phonics portion, because we did see that that was a need, which fit nicely into both the ESF and House Bill 3 early literacy plans. Okay, that's the early literacy suggested goal. We'll move to the early childhood math goal now. It's very similar in form to the reading goal. However, we also looked at data points and created a baseline based on the data that we had available. The newest data was the 2019 STAR year for 3rd grade. And so the board suggested goal, what we would like to bring to you, is that our goal be that the percentage of 3rd graders that are meets or masters on STAR will increase from 46% to 64% by June 2024. That moves them from a 74 to a 91 over the next 4 years. And so having said that, at the bottom, you'll see a very similar chart that you saw to the reading, which breaks it down into the different demographic areas. And those numbers represent the way that those different areas can support that goal for all students to reach their A in 2023. We also set goals for pre-K through 2. They look very similar to the early literacy goals. because they use the same testing platforms. And so our pre-K students have been using Circle Math for several years as a benchmark. And our kinder students have been using Textia beginning this year, so we'll continue to do that. And you can see on your screen that we would like for them to progress as listed as a whole student group over the next, between now and 2024 to support our 3rd grade math goal. And then this is 1st and 2nd grade using iReady Math Diagnostic, which we've gotten phenomenal feedback from our teaching team as well as our administrative team that they're feeling like this is a much more accurate look at how our kids are doing. So we feel confident in these target goal numbers that they will support our 3rd grade math students meeting their goal for STAR. And very similarly, these are the strategies that we have in place on the left, labeled inputs, the things we're putting into place, aligning our ESF Vision 2020 plan with this plan, and then how we're checking that, the outputs on the right, so that we get to our goal outcome. Things like making sure that we provide the right materials and use them with fidelity, as well as making sure we have specific resources and interventions for our students that require accommodations or modifications, and providing professional development for our teachers to make sure that they have the background they need to fulfill these goals. Subcommittee or board, any questions so far?
Ms. Adams, I don't know how familiar people are with the ESF. That my understanding helped me the other night, helped me gain a better appreciation for the work you guys have done. As I understand it, ESF is the Race to an A. It's our district plan on how to get to an A. And the work that y'all had done on that plan already had us moving forward at a pace that was better than or equal to the requirements of the House bill.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Crowder. That's a great point. Our Effective Schools Framework plan is a very detailed plan, and it was a very aggressive plan to meet an A by 2022. House Bill 3 required us to meet their goal, which was not an A, but was 60% of our students being on grade level by the 5-year cycle. So we decided to make our House Bill 3 plan aggressive as well, and make sure that we took into account that we needed to have an extra year to get to that A. So now we're adjusting to 2023. But yes, Dr. Crowder, thank you. We did have a very aggressive plan in place that we were able to mesh and use to drill down to the 3rd grade piece for the House Bill 3. I'd like to move to the other end of our spectrum as public educators and look at our seniors with the CCMR goal that we are setting as a district. I'm bringing to you a suggestion, and remember that House Bill 3 also offers the opportunity for us to not only make sure that our students have what they need to be prepared to go into the workforce as a career-ready student or into college or to enlist, but it also offers the opportunity for us, if we do that well and provide those opportunities, the district is given bonuses to be able to put back into those programs and offer more things for our students. And so our goals need to reflect multiple opportunities for our students to get prepared for one of those avenues. We need to make sure that we're not only focusing our attention on one section, say college bound, but we're also offering many opportunities for career readiness, as well as supporting those students who decide to make their career in the military. So House Bill 3 asks us to look at that. This is a little fuzzy, so I apologize, but there are 10 criteria by which a student can be declared college, career, or military ready. I have those listed on your screen. A couple of those are going away this year, One is the coherent sequence, which is listed at the end of this chart. What that means is a student has taken a series of courses in a particular strand. Say they take 3 biomedical courses. They used to earn 1/2 of a point for the district accountability. That has been discontinued, so I wanted to make sure that was clear. And the military enlistment portion has been put on pause due to some data discrepancies between the different branches and TA. But otherwise, students have multiple opportunities to earn college career readiness points, and ultimately our goal is that we just give them what they need to be successful in the next step of their life. But if you'll look at the chart, you see that it's things like full credit courses, which is a huge part of how our students earn these points, as well as needed courses for college. But we also want to look at ways we can prepare students for careers. So we have the opportunity to offer them industry-based certifications in things like Microsoft Office or OSHA, whatever might be in their strand, their career and technology strand, that would also be a good skill for them to take away from them from graduation and then be able to go into the workforce. When we talk about these goals, we looked at this list to decide where we were doing well and needed to keep pushing, but also what were we missing that we could offer our students and give them the best possible opportunity to be ready for the next step in their life. So having said that, we are suggesting that our board goal become 66, moving our CCMR point scale, that 66% of our students currently received points for this rating in 2020, moving that up to a 74% overall rating in 2024. That basically means that 74% of the senior class will leave with one of those criteria that I showed you on the previous slide under their belt. Now, honestly, I believe that we can get further than this, but this is a healthy goal and an attainable one. At the bottom, you'll see that we've broken that down into the different demographic areas as required and set those goals based on the federal targets. But I'd like to delve into the progress measures that we've chosen and feel like we need to focus our attention on for our high school students. We feel like for progress measure 1, the percentage of students who are college ready in reading and math according to TSI should increase from 45% to 57% in 2024. Now, in layman's terms, that just means that they can score an acceptable score on either the SAT, ACT, or TSI tests, both math and reading, to be able to enter college without having to take any type of remediation course. So we're trying to move our percentage of students who are able to do that from 45% of our seniors to 57% of our seniors over this next span of time.
Amanda?
Yes.
And just so I'm understanding, the 2020 number is the actual from 2019. Is that a true statement?
Yes. Yes, sir. We did. I'm glad you brought that up. If you see at the bottom of your screen, we did a hand calculation to show you that 43% is where we were last year, but obviously we didn't report that because there was no accountability. We were not rated.
And how do you measure this one?
This is the chart that I showed you earlier with the different options. Some students, for example, my daughter graduated in 2019, she had 4 or 5 different ones that she could have gotten her point from. However, you only get 1 point. So as long as your student gets one of those things done, they get a point and are counted in this percentage.
So in other words, if you earn a dual credit, you get a point.
If you earn 3 dual credit hours in math or reading, yes.
Okay, yeah, very good. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. This one obviously concentrates on the college-bound student. So we tried to also add other progress measures for career as well. So let me share that with you as we move through. I do have one more for college-bound students, and this one revolves around that dual credit that I just mentioned, Mr. Donick. We would like to have our number of students who complete 3 hours of dual credit math or English, or 9 hours of any dual credit, increase from 55 to 67% over this amount of time. We think that's very attainable, and it goes hand in hand with our previous goal. They're not able to enroll into these dual credit courses unless they do well on those entrance tests. Specifically, TSI is one we use very often here because we are a TSI testing center. And so this goal goes hand in hand with that goal.
Amanda,
Yes.
I just want to make sure the way Jason stated it may not be what it sounds like to me, but the school earns a point, the district earns a point. The student completing that.
Yeah.
So, okay.
We associate it with their name, but yes, it is a point for us. For them, it is something that goes on their diploma and shows that they have a skill set or a preparedness measure for the next step, yes, which is ultimately what we really want. Our third measure that we'd like to suggest for college and career military readiness is that we focus on some industry-based certifications for our students. You saw that my overall first goal, it said that 66% of our students were earning this point for the district or getting that opportunity to be listed on their diploma. What we're seeing as a trend is that we're missing students in this career category that are going to either go straight into the workforce or haven't quite decided yet what they're going to do as far as college. So we need to give them an opportunity to have something when they walk away from high school that it makes them marketable to go into that workforce. So we would like to increase our participation in students receiving licenses or certifications. And this is one that we have nothing to do but grow because we have 0 right now. So we've set a realistic goal over the next 4 years to get 20% of our students to get a certification or license. Now, I'll be very frank that I think we're going to hit that very much sooner than 4 years because we've already started doing some work in this area to have the ability to give these certifications. We started talking about it with our teams in the spring of 20. And then obviously all of us know what happened. And so we've been reinventing and rethinking what goes with what strand and working towards how to get to this goal and basically how do we make sure we're not missing a niche of students who need skill when they walk away from high school that would be useful for them. Not only if they just need to have a job while they're in college, but even if they're going straight to the workforce and that's where they want to be. And so this goal is one that really focuses on that career pathway.
Can you give me an example like of an industry-based certification? I'm sorry if you've already.
No, that's fine. There's over 700 that we can choose from, but things like a food handler's management license, an OSHA certification, welding certification, Adobe, Microsoft Office. There's just a huge list.
Got it.
What we need to do is make sure we match it to what our course offerings are and what our industry in the area as well as our student interests. So we have a.
Mr. Yannick, we'll send you that list. We'll send all of you that list. We'll make sure that you have a copy of that.
Okay, thank you. And if you hit 20%, you get an A in that category in that measure.
It's kind of deceiving the way you look at it. And when you look at that 20%, that would go into our overall goal.
Okay.
Yeah, it helps contribute to that. Yes. And these are the things, again, we have been talking about this for quite some time as a district, and and with working with high school admin and teachers, these things are directly, things resulting from our previous work in that ESF plan, that vision. And so we were able to just relook at that and say, what are we doing, or what's in the plan, and how can we narrow it? So that's what you see on the left, things like making sure that we have a high emphasis and sense of ownership for our students to be college and career ready when they leave. What are our best practices, and do we have those procedures in place? Reviewing this at PLT, so professional leadership team meetings, when we get our groups of teachers together talking about this, who has not had the opportunity as a student to achieve this, and doing that monthly and making sure we don't leave anything in doubt, as well as making sure that we design pathways in each of our CTE strands, that there is a license or certificate able to be gained somewhere in that strand by any student having that opportunity. And then on the right, as you see, there are ways we can monitor that as well that we already have in place. And we'll continue to grow that. Finally, a very important portion of this goal setting and the formalization of this plan is monitoring. So we would like to commit to these monitoring months for the different, there are obviously three goals: early literacy, early math performance, and CCMR progress. And on the right, you'll see which months that we would like to come back to the board with monitoring of those data pieces and tell you where we are. They revolve around the benchmarks that you saw on the strategy pages, where we have interims, where we have data sets that we're getting from TEA to be able to come back to you and tell you how we're doing. So I'd like to allow anyone on the subcommittee, because I've done a lot of talking, I'd like to allow anyone on the subcommittee or anyone on the board with a question to give any closing thoughts. Well, it was a pleasure and an honor to work with you guys on Monday night, and I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, Amanda, and thank you, subcommittee, for being willing to take and put in extra time for that. It just shows the dedication that you have to the kiddos and to the school district. And I thank you personally for that. This is an action item. The consideration and possible action of the board to approve the House Bill 3 district and board goals in the areas of early childhood literacy and mathematics, proficiency, college, career, and military readiness. So the floor is open now for a motion to address this agenda item as just presented.
So moved.
Mike has made the motion. Is there a second?
Second it, Jason.
Jason Yannick has seconded. All those in favor of accepting as presented, show of hands or say aye. Aye. Looks like 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. That's a lot of hard work you put into it, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Agenda item number 12 is an action item. It's consideration and possible action by the board to approve the 2021-2022 West ISD Scholastic calendar. I believe Mr. Truitt's going to present that to us.
Yes, sir. And I've already got it pulled up on the screen. And I'd like to caution you guys, the yellow version that's in your packet is not the latest version because the packets were made before last night's district advisory team meeting where some revisions and discussions were had about this page that you see up on the screen. As always, the easiest way to go through the calendar is by month and looking at the key. I do want to separate two decisions tonight because we always approve the calendar and then we look at school times. One big portion of last night's discussion was about school times we use this year due to our COVID-19 risk mitigation planning with the kids who are on campus, go ahead and getting them moved to the classrooms where they're not sitting in gyms and cafeterias together. Waiting on buses, waiting in hallways, so we could immediately get some learning and different things taking place. And then that, of course, meant we got out earlier at 3 at the elementary and 3:15 at the secondary campus. And so through some discussions yesterday, one of our mid-year survey goals is to see where folks are on those times. But I want to caution, if we're still in COVID-19 times, that discussion needs to be about risk mitigation, and we'd be back at these times we used this year. But we want to get some feedback from the staff on that, and that's always a separate approval process. So looking just at the calendar, remember green's holidays, red is our staff work days and professional development days, yellow is our new teacher and staff in service, purple is STAR testing, and a new color, blue, for early release, because we didn't have early release on the calendar this year because we couldn't afford to lose the minutes of instruction, as we learned just with our snow day this past Monday. August is still, as I previously presented to you, Mrs. Adams would like for new teacher and staff to back up to our back to school in service, so you can see the days there. Our calendar is still front loaded, but we're able to get the midweek start dates, not after Labor Day like this year, of Wednesday, August 25th. October was a heavily discussed month because we wanted to bring back the 4-day fall break, but also give teachers and staff a day off in addition to the work and planning day there. So you can see that we're able to accomplish that at the grading period change. Of course, we have our 5 days at Thanksgiving, which has become a staple in West ISD on our calendars. I do want to make sure you know for staff that the 22nd and 23rd of that week are flex days where we'll ask our staff to earn the 16 hours. Usually they all get it in the summer with the things that they're asked to do by the state. And so most of them knock it out even before we start school. In December, you can see we're ending the fall semester again before Christmas. As you know, we tried this year, really because of COVID, to do the after Christmas break, and we've already learned all over again why we don't like it. So we're going to make sure that we stop it again before we leave for Christmas there on the 17th. The DAT last night asked that we make that day an early release day again, and so that's why it's tagged blue. And so 11:45 for the elementary and noon for secondary. If you go up to January, we're back to our 2 days for planning and work days there, with a midweek start on January 5th, 2022 for the students. We have our MLK Appreciation Day that's coming up here on Monday in West, and then we've got President's Day there. March spring break is still the 14th through the 18th. As of the DAT meeting last night, Baylor and MCC still had not released their spring break. So we're sticking with this one for now. If we need to make this change, we'll bring it back to the board. It is perfect for the switching of the 3rd and 4th 9-week grading periods. We have the work planning day there after spring break. That was requested by the staff to have a day there to get ready for the stretch run with the kids coming back on the 22nd. We have Good Friday for Easter weekend there on Friday the 15th. The staff in a previous DAT meeting had asked about Monday, April 18th as another holiday, but we decided rather than work on Saturday, May the 28th, that we just decided to go those last weeks just to get out earlier. You can see we have a midweek ending to the year on Wednesday, May 25th. It's also been asked for a early release day by the DAT, with 2 days to wrap up and get grades in, and the checkout there on the 26th and 27th. So tonight, of course, I'll take questions about the calendar. You can see there on the left the number of days per grading period, how we came to our 187-day total for contracts for teachers. And you can see we have almost 6.5 days for our students in case of inclement weather. And so solid calendar, with a lot of input. And again, I'll get back with you on the school times at a future meeting. So I'm going to stop sharing and see if anybody has any questions before I ask your approval.
Any questions for Mr. Truitt?
Explain to me what the bank days were again, Mr. Truitt. The 6.4.
Yes, sir. That means that our students can miss up to 6.5, we'll see really 6.4 days of school without having to make it up. As our instructional minutes is greater than the state requirement of 75,600.
Got it.
So we got to remember there, because this past Monday, even though the kids were off and they don't have to make it up, our staff does. So always remember the banked minutes is for kids only. So we decided at the DAT, and I'll need your approval for this at the next meeting. I didn't get it on the agenda because we had to post on Friday, that they've asked for a flex day of another 8 hours of earned time outside the school day based on initiative work to make up for the Monday snow day. And I'll have that on the February calendar.
Very good.
I said calendar, but I meant agenda. I'm sorry. All right. Any other questions? That was a good one, Mr. Yannick. Anything else I can help with on the calendar?
As a side note, good pictures on the snow day stuff on the the school district Facebook page.
That was enjoyable. It was absolutely beautiful to walk the campuses with all the snow cover on everything. It was awesome.
Very good.
All right, so tonight I'm seeking your approval. Change anything because of COVID-19, we'll just bring it back to you at whatever month that it's applicable to do that.
Okay. This is an action item. The floor is open for a motion to address the item as presented by Mr. Truitt. John, I saw your hand first. John Crowder makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second, Holly.
Holly seconds it. All those in favor, please show of hands or say aye.
Aye.
It's 7-0. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 13 is also an action item. It's consideration and possible action by the board to approve the resolution of the board regarding extension of time to use emergency paid sick leave for the 2020-2021 school year. Mr. Truitt is going to address that for us.
Rather than put it up on the screen, it's the Baylor green sheet in your packet. You'll all turn there. Just as a reminder, we set out to do everything we could to support our staff this year on isolation and isolation and quarantine COVID-19 cases. We even said we'd support our staff when they were out awaiting testing results or going to be tested. Also, if there was COVID in their homes or they needed to take care of their kids, we were here to help. The federal proclamation ended though on December 31st, 2020, and TASB and Region 12 recommended we approve this resolution for the spring semester. So we're not giving days, which would be considered a gift of public funds, without this resolution in place. And the way the resolution words is, think of it as 20 days in the year is kind of how the resolution works. 10 for the fall, 10 for the spring. We'll work with anyone though, as we know we might have a case that exceeds that, especially if they have COVID in the home and then get COVID. So that would be 20. But we've got to have this in place. And so tonight I'm seeking your approval for this resolution, and we'll have Dr. Sparks and Ms. Crawshaw sign it next time they can come by my office so we have this on file if ever asked.
Okay. Any questions? The right thing to do.
Absolutely.
If not, I will call for a motion to address agenda item number 13 as presented.
So moved.
Kenny, I believe that was you. Is there a second? John, I see your hands at second. All those in favor of the resolution, please show of hands or say aye. That looks like 7-0, Lee. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 14 is also an action item. It's consideration and possible action by the board to approve the 2020-2021 advanced notification of resignation stipend amount and guidelines. Mr. Truitt will present that to us also.
All right, it's the orange item in your packets. This is a memo you've seen for a couple of years now, and it's something we're glad to do for our staff, especially those considering retirement or resignation. I just want to go through a couple of key pieces of it. First off, in the subject header, as a reminder, it's all for all staff, at-will employees included. So all means all when it comes to this approval tonight. And then I just want to go through, especially the stipend amount. As a reminder, we do 2%, in this case, of their 2020, 2021 salary. And you can see an example there of what they receive. I just want to remind everyone also that it's prior to taxes, as it states there. On the program timeline, I'll send this out tomorrow, and anyone that's retired or resigned before tonight would still be eligible. And so we'll go through that list with Mrs. Adams. And so tomorrow will be the kickoff, and you can see the deadline of Friday, March 5th. That's the Friday before spring break, because our job fair is, the virtual fair is that Friday, the 20th, when we return. And so our goal is to know who's planning to do this, so we know who to interview for on that virtual job fair day. And so I'll make sure the staff knows as this approaches. I'll remind them as often as every week if needed. That last sentence I wanted to point out before I seek your approval: when they get paid is the last check of this school year, which is Thursday, August the 26th. So just as a reminder that it's that final check is when they get it as a thank you and going away gift for all they've done for the Trojans. So tonight I'm seeking your approval based on this memo language for me to send out tomorrow for the advanced notification stipend.
Very good.
David,
Yes, ma'am.
I was, because Lorena is a district that we are very similar to and compete for those employees,
Yes.
their advanced notification is, okay, I was just looking it up because I had gotten some messages about it, is January 1st through the 15th. Right, it's written weird on my phone. It's January 15th. So that puts them up quite a bit ahead of us. You know, I can send this to you and let you look it over and see, you know, what the difference is, but it's, it just, when I was kind of curious about, you know, I don't know. I just feel like the more we're ahead of everybody else, the better pool of people we have.
Tell me one more time, what is on January 15th, their job fair?
No, their early notification deadline.
Oh, their deadline. Okay. Well, we can move ours up if the board would like for me to look at an earlier date. I think most people, and I don't have any data to support this, this is a gut, that they would know. And if there's a deadline, they would need it if they wanted this extra money. So we can move it up. Looking at the calendar, we can do the last Friday in January, the 29th, if you'd like. I can just change that on that one sentence in the middle of the memo.
I'm just reading it to make sure that I'm reading it correctly. Notify, of course, the necessary people in writing by January 15th to receive the incentives that the financial incentives that they're offering. So I just, the only reason I bring it up again is just, you know, the more people we possibly have in our pool of, you know, the better off that we are. I would kind of look at Holly and what her thoughts are, since she's our HR board person.
Not HR board person at all, but I am
more experience than I do is what I mean.
I feel like generally it seems to me that the schools really hit the ground running with hiring after spring break. So I feel like that's a good starting ground. I wouldn't want to side this or change the date tonight without doing more research personally. But I think it would definitely be something for us to do some research for next year. I think for now, giving them that little bit of extra time, things change, things happen, the new year starts, and we're not in a bad position if we don't do it, you know, until spring break. That's my thoughts, but I totally get where you're coming from. I didn't realize, and that's why I'd like to look at some other school districts and see what they're asking that's certainly worth a look for sure.
And as a reminder, remember I said gut, so I have no data. I do know that over time we've done this, we do get quite a few right up close to whatever deadline we set, where if they were thinking about it, that may have been a factor just based on that Friday deadline, because I've gotten some right at 4 o'clock on the deadline. You know, we'll post anytime we have a resignation and try to hire. We won't wait, obviously, to the virtual job fair. That's just a good day to kind of PR and get people thinking about coming to be a part of the West ISD family. If we keep the 5th, that does give us 10 days to post and send out and get things on our social media in particular, which has become our best way to find candidates in addition to the Region 12 job site. So we would have 10 days there. We just have to make sure we post all the positions that we might get from this stipend before we leave for spring break on that Friday, which we would commit to. Just some more thoughts. Maybe that was more of a ramble. Dr. Crowder was going to speak earlier. So Dr. Crowder, what were you going to add?
Well, just an admission that I'm a little confused. Help me understand how moving that date up benefits the district. I'm not following that.
We would have more time to post and hire instead of, you know, what Lorena and Lee was mentioning there was, instead of waiting and knowing what our positions might be on Friday, March 5th, hypothetically, some might turn it in earlier. We would know whatever date we pick so we can get going on filling those roles before, in this case, Lorena will know their openings and might, you know, select some folks before we have a chance to talk to them. You know, a lot of hypotheticals there, but that is the thinking. Holly and Lee, we've talked about this, and the sooner, that's why our job fairs moved up from April to March. Each year we move it up earlier and earlier because you want to be first. You want to have your job fair out there to grab the people you want before they go talk to other districts. And so the sooner you have your job fair, the better chance you have to grab some candidates if we're fast, you know, acting and the process is solid. And you guys are going to have to give me my special superhero powers to hire outside of a board meeting again. So I'll have that on the February agenda so we don't have to wait until the April meeting, which, you know, looking at our timeline would be 4 weeks after our job fair, and we'd lose anybody that we wanted on that date unless we did a special called meeting. So that's really the thinking, Dr. Crowder, is the early bird gets the worm.
Yep.
Got it. Thank you.
All right.
Is that fair, Ms. Crawshaw? Is that what you were thinking?
Yes.
All right. And we can amend it at a later date if need be. All right. Any other questions?
Actually, I'd
Comments?
rather not do that. I wouldn't want to amend it after we send it out tomorrow and say, oh, just kidding, here, we got a new deadline. So
Okay.
I really would like to stick with, I kind of like how Holly mentioned it. Why don't we stick with March 5th, but encourage them to get it to us if they know, and let's look at some data and see if we need to move it up for next year. I think that's a fair compromise for this year, and we'll be okay.
Very good. Any other comments or questions before I call for a motion? If not, the floor is open for a motion to address agenda item number 14 about the stipend.
So moved.
Lee's made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll make the second.
Jason and Yannick makes the second to the motion. All those in favor, please show of hands. So 7-0. Thank you very much. That brings us to action item number 15, which we will table that. Mr. Truitt, would you like to comment before we move on?
I would, mostly because I kind of shared a precursor to tonight with the DAT last night, and we have some elementary teachers here that I know are anxiously awaiting some ground moving over on Cottonwood, along with you, the board. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew the why. I don't want anything being misconstrued by this. It's my decision based on a recommendation from our attorney, Mr. Trevino. So tonight I'm recommending that we table this agenda item in discussion until we can schedule a special called meeting. But my desire is as soon as possible, just for this most important construction item for the new elementary. I would like to do it Monday night at 6:30 on Zoom if possible. And of course, that's not an action item tonight. I'm just telling you what I'm considering here, and I'll get with each of you individually to check calendars. I know that both Claycomb, Mr. Trevino, and Jackson Construction, JD Hale can all be available at 6:30 to go over everything y'all want to talk about, just as that one agenda item, which I think this sorely needs. What led to tonight is just Mr. Trevino, our attorney, asked for more time to review the guaranteed maximum price, the construction contract, and all the addenda. We received it this morning, and just frankly, we needed a little more time. I want to thank Jackson Construction, though, in getting us all this information with the snow day the other day and some changes and discussion we've been having, especially about the bids. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Trevino for giving me really his undivided attention over the last, say, 48 hours, just reviewing gobs of paper to make sure that everything's aligned and ready for your approval. I don't think it's good practice as a board meeting agenda item for you to give me authority on such an important document to say, we're going to approve it tonight, but we want you to go fix it later and then just tell us what you fixed. I firmly believe you guys need to see the final version before approval, and Mr. Trevino agrees with me that that's best practice. I'd also like to thank Ms. Mossick because she has been working hard on the budget figures, and when you're pulling from 5 different funding sources to make this project work with the bond amount that we asked our community to approve to keep the tax rate the lowest that we could possibly keep it for them. That's taken a lot of work as well. And she had to be ready tonight with those figures for you so you could approve the GMP. So thank you, Ms. Mossick, for getting that ready. Again, thank you to our community for supporting the bond, the project. Elementary, it's just till Monday night. We're okay. And so we'll get it all done. But I think this needs its own meeting because it's that big of a topic. Okay. All right, so thank you for your patience, and we'll get it done.
Thank you.
Did
West
y'all
Elementary.
see this over here? Did y'all see this clapping for Miss Mossick?
Yeah.
These kiddos are excited for a new school. I think that's all the more reason.
So am I. I cannot wait. It's going to be a fabulous, fabulous campus.
So we will take no action on agenda item number 15. It's tabled until the called meeting sometime in the future. All right.
That is correct. I know we said tabled. That was incorrect. It's no action. Thank you for saying that correctly, Dr. Sparks. So for Ms. Crawshaw, it's not tabled. It's no action.
All right. It is now 7:58 p.m. At this time, we will adjourn to closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551071, 551129, 551074, and 551072. If you'd like to take about a 5-minute break, we'll meet you on the other side in the executive Zoom session. Thank you very much. PM. At this time, we will reconvene from closed executive session for the possible action relative to items considered during our closed executive session. Mr. Truitt, would you address us, please?
Yes, only 17A tonight. Tonight I'm seeking your approval to approve the personnel reports as presented, specifically the retirement of Dr. Susan Pantel, who will be greatly missed and tough to replace.
Okay. Floor is open for a motion to address that item.
So moved.
Holly's made the motion. I see Kenny has seconded. All those in favor, please show of hands or say aye. It's like 7-0. All right. Thank you. That concludes the business there. Now we'll move on to agenda item number 18, which is a report of Mr. Truitt. Take it away, Mr. Truitt.
All right, I'll do A through G. Warning G will take a little time, so we'll get through it though together. On 18A, it's the pink sheet. I always give you district calendar reminders. Really just hit 3 here. Monday, the 18th is Martin Luther King Jr. Appreciation Day, a student and staff holiday. So ironically enough, because of the snow day, we have 3 weeks of only 4 days of school in a row. For Dr. Crowder and Ms. Crawshaw, our next SHAC meeting is Tuesday, January 19th. So next Tuesday at 6:30 on Zoom. So I will send you all that information to get on the Zoom. And then as a reminder for all of you, our next board meeting is Wednesday, February 10th, also on Zoom. For 18B, it's the blue sheet, and I'm going to put it up on the screen since we've got still 2 guests with us, so they can see what we're talking about here. Let me, sorry, I didn't already have it up here. I walked the Trojan gym area there behind my office and took a look around at what was still sitting out that I thought we might want to consider for placement somewhere. This kind of started because I had a conversation with Jason Yannick about the one in the middle there of that old West High School sign. Someone in the community had asked him about its location, if we could put it back out. And I said, no problem. And so Jason, I got back with Jason about that, and Jeremy sent me the pic. And then it made me think, what else do we have sitting around? And I've even asked if there were other things that are out there that people want to know where they are so I can look for some things. So this is just kind of some picture representations of some things that you guys will recognize. And if you have a passion for this kind of thing, I know Ms. Crawshaw does, this stuff's just sitting and could be out and displayed in a fun and unique way about our history in particular. So we've got these big old Trojan things, pictures that are wood carvings. The top 3 are, the top 2 are in the Trojan gym right now. And from what I understand, one was in the old cafeteria, that one in the middle, and then the one on the left there of the Trojan on the horse was at transportation. And then we have the carving that needs to go somewhere. It just can't go out in the elements, but that was from, remember, it's kind of West ISD folklore. I joke about it's not the tree that was outside my office that Mr. Waters asked for us to use. Remember, that one rotted. And so this was a donated piece of wood, but still was the design he was hoping. And so it needs to go somewhere.
Isn't that one pretty unstable and it'll topple?
It's going to have to be bolted on the bottom and on the back. Yes, ma'am. And the shield is not finished, so there's still some work that needs to be done on it. And that sword goes in his left hand, shield goes in his right hand. And so when it's all together, it looks cool, but the shield makes it tumble forward. So plus the shield still needs some work, and the whole thing needs to be varnished because of the elements. It's super heavy, and the only way we'd get it into a building, if there was a spot we wanted it in, would be literally having a lot of people help us carry it. And then the worry is, what would it do to the flooring under it? So outside has been the destination of choice, just picking a spot for it where it wouldn't get weathered.
Well, I think it's going to get weathered no matter what we do, but a good spot would be back there, football, baseball, where we have visitors that come in, let them know that this is Trojan country, and we're just going to have to seal it every year. But, you know, on one of the drives that we're talking about and that kind of stuff, it would be a good welcoming to everybody, as well as a reminder to where people are.
Sounds good. Help me pick a spot. Let's get it. Those 2 pictures to the left, those are pretty big. They're like 3x2. So they're pretty big pictures. I didn't want you, it's hard to tell in these pictures I took. So those are pretty big Trojan spirit photos. The green safe was the one that was in my closet at the old building that's super old. I've been told it was from a bank here in town. So it's just sitting at the Trojan gym. If there's something cool we want to do with it, or we need I guess we consider selling it or whatever you want to do, or the West Museum or something. But again, it's just sitting over there. They saved the terrazzo on the right, and that's a much bigger picture. That's the only one I had, and it was covered with snow the other day. And just wanted you to know that we have that if we wanted that to go anywhere, and they can cut it down even into the circle if we wanted to display it somewhere, but it's heavy because it's terrazzo. This West High School sign in the middle that Jason had asked me about, you know, I've been told probably the best place for it is here at this building, since this was the high school, and we could even put it in the flower bed and get it standing back up if we wanted to put it there. Or if we wanted even on the high school side of the current building, we could put it over there. The bases it came in, you can see one of them on top of the terrazzo floor is damaged and broke, so we'd have to craft some new ones, and the guys could do that for us in maintenance. At the bottom, this represents the two big cornerstones. This was for the middle school campus we lost, also known as the intermediate school. And then we have the other big one from the high school we lost. And then we have the one from the Ross school we lost. The Ross one's much smaller, and it's on display here outside my office, but these two are pretty massive stones. So we just need to decide what we want to do with them. Remember, there's two of them. Then we have these two staff recognition plaques that are here at admin, and I'm sure their families would like them hung somewhere. I'm not sure why there's only two, unless maybe what happened with the explosion kind of stopped the celebration of this stuff and making these plaques for different staff members. But we've got these two, and need some discretion there on those. Back.
Is one of those Marianne? I'm sorry.
The one on the right is, yes, sir. The one on the right is.
That's Michelle's mom.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
No, you're fine. And the other one is Mr. Jars. I'm not sure the symbolism of those, except it looked like one year there was a plan to honor some staff members, and like we do with our plaques here, but instead it was this kind with the faces on them. So this is the only two I found of this style. Maybe it's like
if you do that for too long, you
thing.
don't have any space. You don't have any place to do anything with them. So that's
I think I'll echo what Jason said. The one on the right is obviously with Miss Scott, and I'm not familiar with Mr. Jars. Obviously, we know their family. Y'all'd have to tell me who he is. All I know is what's on the plaque. So just finding a spot for him, or even if the family wants them, we just need to discuss that. On the furniture, I've scoured what's in storage over there at the Trojan Gym, and as far as the old desks that are still out that are not in this building, that's what's left. So there's two of those desks where you sit, and then the back of it is, you know, the desk for the person behind you. And then those four chairs are old wooden ones from a table or desk of some sort. They don't go with those two desks, but this is all that's over there. So I just wanted you to see that we still have these in storage.
those were put aside to be scattered about the admin building.
But we can scatter if you'll tell me where you want.
I'll come scatter. I'll come help.
Just, I know I'm worried about them getting damaged and forgotten because they're in just a pile of other things that's being auctioned, which is why I made sure we remembered that we've got them. And
I had asked the previous person who was kind of controlling all of this to let me know when, and asked several times, and I never got a when. So let's work on this real fast.
Sounds good. And the guys can even restore them and stain them or whatever you want done, or maybe you want them in the weathered look. So just let me know and we'll get them moved over. On the that one Home of the Fighting Trojans, I thought this was cool. It looks like it's from an old scoreboard of some sort, and that's sitting over there if we want to do something with that. And again, we don't have to do something with any of this stuff. I just want y'all to know what's out there, and if you've got a place that you'd love for us to consider, I just want you guys to know as our board what we've got, and y'all may know even the sentimental value, if there's any of some of these things that I need to know about as superintendent, so we can find a prominent place for it. And Chuck's aware of these items, so we're planning. And if you want to have a say in that, I was just really reaching out to you to say help, and let's figure this out.
The one I personally know about, the middle one there, the home of the West Trojans, home of the Fighting Children, West High School one, it was donated by several of the classes in the mid 80s. That's where that came from. So like class of 84, 85, 86, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but there's some sentimental attachment there from those class members.
Well, let's make a decision on that one, because it'd be easy to get it back up. Do we want it here at this building as the original high school, or do we want it over at the new high school in display out front? What say if
that group had recommended to me put it in the flower bed of the admin building. I don't know if that's okay with everybody else, but
that would be super easy to do. Is everybody okay with that? Because we can get that one ASAP.
Yes.
All right. I'll talk to Mr. Norris tomorrow and we'll get that one done. So Jason, tell your homies that we're on it.
Thank you, Mr. Truitt. They'll be so pleased.
All right, next on the list then, I wanted to show you the current state, and Mr. Yannick's gonna strangle me over this one. Oscar, when I asked him for the bid packet, reminded me, because students would be in this facility, that we had to have engineering and architecture specs done, which led to handicapped accessibility. So it's turned into a way bigger project than us just speccing it and going out for bids and selecting the bids and building it. So it's got a little more time intensive, which means things slowed down. But here's the current state of our enclosed page. Uh-oh, sorry, hold on. My laptop's dying. Sorry, got to change angles here, plug it in. All right, back. Let me share. Well, Truitt, where is it? Hold on, sorry guys. Let me go back out. Here it is. Okay, now back to this. Share screen, here we go. All right, so here's our specs, and this is what the architect and the engineer are working on to get us for the bid packet. So you can see where it's going. You can see its layout with the garage doors and the entry. You can see its accessibility to other existing sidewalks with the correct elevations for handicapped access. So now we're just waiting on the final drawings, and then we can put out the bid packets. So we're just in a holding pattern while the engineer and the architect catches up to us. So this is what George DeJean did for us, and now the engineer is finalizing everything that we need to have to go to bid. So to help out with our baseball parents, there's a parent meeting on the 20th here at admin to kick off the season. So I'll make sure that we have slides to show them what we're doing, along with the specs when we get those as the next document, so they can see what's being done and what's coming, so they don't think we're just doing nothing, because that's not the case. It's just we've got to do this right. And so Oscar's helping us through the process, and we'll get it done, and sooner the better, obviously, and Mr. DeJean knows that. So after we get the specs, what's going to slow it down again is the 10 days for bidding, where we do the sealed bids following the bid law and approve those bids, and then get going. And anyone we talk with, obviously that timeline will be of importance. So just wanted you to show this, and if y'all have any baseball families that I need to share this with, I'm more than happy to, because I know now we're behind again, which is not what they hear y'all want to hear. So sorry about that, Mr. Yannick. I'm here to help though.
Oh no, it's progress. We have a drawing.
That's true. And I think if they see that they'll know it's going to happen. And they can see it's cool and something definitely needed. And it even has that aerial view of pitching and batting lanes and the individual drill area, so they can kind of get a feel for what we're getting. So definitely something we're sharing. So I'll make sure we have ready for them.
I think it's exceeding expectations also. So that's a huge thing.
I hope so, because we went from covers just over the existing to a standalone, and that takes time and energy and money. So we're doing the best we can.
Awesome. Good job.
All right, on the safety and security job descriptions, they're in red in your packets. It's an approval item. What I was envisioning is for you to take a look at those two job descriptions. One's for the chief, one's for the other officer, for the two, one for each campus, for the two for our department. Between now and the February board meeting, take a look at those. If you'd like to see specific things added to the bullet points, let me know. So if you'll review that, I'd appreciate it. Otherwise, they'll be on the agenda as is. They're the TASB ones that we reviewed. And I had asked Keen, who you know I've worked with on getting the documentation from theirs, and it was actually the TASB one as well. So that seems to be the one everyone's using. But we can make it our own. So if y'all want a West ISD section of duties, we can add that to in expectations. All right, on the, sorry, I lost my place. That was signs. Oh, I went out of order. I apologize, Dr. Sparks.
No problem.
Oh, I'm way out of order. The groundbreaking ceremony, we talked last night about the DAT and got a few new ideas. We'll work with Jolie, who y'all have met through Claycomb from the bond election. We would like to do it the first to second week in February. I've asked Ms. Cosda just to ask the staff and get a plan together so we can send it out and get the invitations done. If we do our called meeting Monday night at 6:30, we're well on target to have construction trailer, foundation well going, and some things even to see with the ceremony, and of course, us being able to shovel dirt in some way. The concern at the elementary is still about, because of COVID-19 risk mitigation factors, having kids come to the site and even having large crowds. So it's not going to be what we hoped, but I'm wondering if we can do something virtually with Jason Dalrypple's cameras and the kids and trying to figure out a way even to do it in pieces and parts to involve as many as we can. It is outdoors, which helps. And so if y'all have ideas, this is really, it's on the agenda for me to say, please get with me soon if there's some things you'd like to see. Otherwise, we're turning it over to Carrie and Jolie to see what they come up with. And I know it'll be fantastic, but if there's things you want done, love to hear from you.
Did you have a date on that, or just sometime in that second week of February?
I gave them the window the 1st through the 12th, and it was the 25th through the 5th, but now that's just 3 weeks away. So they have a window the 1st through the 12th to get it scheduled. And to be frank, Dr. Crowder, because it's already January 13th, we're probably looking at the 8th through 12th. So I just really wanted to get it done before President's Day.
What time of day are we looking at?
For discussion. If we want kids involved during the school day, would be best. If we want to do a Saturday morning, we do a Saturday morning. That's up for debate. There's been an assumption, of course, it'd be during the school day because of the kids' involvement.
I don't personally think we need to have the kids involved. The less, the better.
It's since it's their school, I'd love to see some of them there.
We can have some representatives, and there's some things virtually, like Miss Caitlin Leslie was trying to figure out music and how we could record it and create a video of the events and send that out, like we're doing the choir concerts and band concerts right now in the theater plays. So we may have to involve some technology, but I too want kids involved because it is their school. I don't know about getting all 538 over there, but some reps for each grade level would be fun. That's a lot of kids to transport over there and outside and running around, busy 2114 and
February has the potential to be cold too.
yeah, that too. All right. The next one, I thought I'd have an update for this, but I'm meeting with Mr. Snook on Tuesday. Our next deadline is for turning in our application is January 29th. And you don't have to approve this. I guess my charge for this one is I'm asking Mr. Snook in particular, because this is his wheelhouse and an area of great interest of his, if the benefits of doing this are still there with how TEAs changed this academy piece today that were there when we started this. There is no money tied to this anymore. There is still PD and conferencing. We get very little coaching. And I'm just wondering if us doing it ourselves with Project Lead the Way and STEM emphasis through the career and technical courses and the things we're still offering, if we need this, or is it just about having the title of it being a STEM academy still? So we're going through that kind of dissection of this STEM Academy program right now in Texas and just trying to decide about what we want from this. I want to emphasize this does not mean our engineering strand, our health science strand, our computer science strand are going away. It doesn't mean our grade 7 and 8 electives are going away. I'm only talking about the designation with the state. So we're trying to weigh the pros and cons and what we actually get from the partnership. So because we don't have a board meeting between now and the 29th, I'll send that to you via email so you can see kind of the pros and cons list as we meet about it. Okay.
All right.
All right. Then finally on the mid-year goal check, I emailed y'all this document this morning. And again, because this is open session, anything personal or personnel related, we cannot discuss unless we go back to closed session. So I'm going to share what we can, but the main thing I want to do is see if you have questions about any pages. And the main part I want to go over starts on page 8, where you guys at my last appraisal added some things for me to consider that are in red. And then you've added some questions and just some comments that I add there so you can see where we are on some things that weren't in the graph or the table, excuse me, on the first 6 pages. As a reminder, red means that's my update of something that's in progress. Since this is mid-year, very different than what we'll do in July at the culmination. That's when, of course, you'll do my appraisal document and go through that process in closed session. This is just the check. So black is the goal statements. On the personal section, just as a reminder, I still have a goal in my life to complete my PhD. And as you know, I quit paying tuition on the degree in fall of 2020, but you can see there that I've sought out my committee chair about reinstating me for the summer semester of 2021, and they're more than willing to work with me. So I still would like to finish my dissertation. As you know, the coursework, the 72 hours is done. I just hadn't finished chapters 3 through 5, and I'm just thrilled that they still want me. So I want to get that done. The superintendent's forums are going well. You can see there. The time with Truett are coming back. We did a hiatus in the fall, but the principals asked, especially for the data digs, about reintroducing it at a bi-weekly basis. And so you can see that there, that Carla and Amanda and I will get those scheduled. You can see some of our visioning work there, especially with our one word, and mention the energy bus again, which is some reminders about the importance of that book study is in the life of our district. That last one there, I still am going strong on our subbing. I have 3 that are scheduled for the spring and 2 more that still need to be scheduled. And of course, I have to go to pre-K again. So I keep joking with Amanda and Carla that they have to come with me. because if it never fails, pre-K always wins, and it terrifies me. So I will do my best to sub for pre-K. On page 3, we get into our goal 1 of educational excellence. I don't think the first goal needs addressed again because Amanda really shared tonight about our ESF work and our new House Bill 3 goals, but of course that one is all throughout this one. On the second bullet point there, it's our goal there under that underlined piece about making sure all of this is merged with the ESF, so we have one document, one plan, one vision to share, and as Amanda said earlier, with all stakeholders, but specifically our teachers. You can see data digs and planning time, the data points, some updates under those. The mark-throughs, we're not working with those consultants right now, and of course, remember our PSP, Debbie, or not Debbie, Denise, I called her Debbie. Denise Bell, remember, is working for Waco ISD now. And so Miss Golf and those parts were days of yore. And really we have experts here. Our principals are taking on greater roles, and Amanda's doing a fabulous job leading that. That next section mentions the foundations that you heard Mrs. Costa mention tonight. And then the hand, the mind, number line clocks that Ms. Hickthorne did an amazing job leading back on Monday the 4th. A theme here is when teachers say they need some pieces for the frameworks for math and literacy, we're responding. And I wanted to make sure you saw that in this section. The next one, I've already started my list of funding requests or budget requests for Joanna, because I think it's imperative we do everything we can to protect our 5 teachers that we currently have at the elementary at grades 2 and 4 because of the needs of those cohorts. So if we can make it work, then those positions would simply move up with the kids, and then we'd have a need for 5 teacher positions at grades 3 and 5. And we'd love to keep them there then until those cohorts graduate, or if there's another need to keep class size down. One thing we've learned during COVID-19, and this wasn't rocket science or some big revelation about education excellence, but class size matters. And with the COVID situation and how we try to do our master schedule and keep these positions there and look at the remote learning pieces, of course, behavior and learning, scores go up and behavior goes down. Well, behavior if we've got a great class size for our teachers to, at each grade level. So that's reiterated there with those budget requests. The elementary is raving about having Miss Betchka back full time. That was a struggle to have her not in that role last year, and Miss Rosinski moving back to dyslexia has been met with great feedback as well, although she's missed at grade 5. The reading academies are going strong, kindergarten through grade 3, and that training will be completed by June of 2021. So we're on target for all of those. The writing piece, you even heard Ms. Cosda mention that with the foundations and the cursive piece, the Trojan pep talks, the grow and glows, happening at a greater level at the elementary, still not at the level of this goal. And so we're going to address that in some mid-year conferences that are scheduled for actually tomorrow and Friday, and need to get it going at the middle school, high school at a greater level. Page 4, COVID kind of sapped the engineering students coming to the elementary for robotics. Still have great things happening with Mr. Snook, and Miss Mays is still doing the technology pieces of that goal. As you know, on the next goal, we started paying the dual credit tuition for the junior U.S. history and the senior English course. We have seen a slight increase in enrollment, and President-elect Biden has mentioned the possibility of providing tuition-free courses for all community colleges. And I jokingly said that's not a political statement on my part, but I'll believe it when I see it. But boy, it'd be nice if he made that happen. But I know there's a lot being promised, so we'll see what happens there. The next one is about our ag facility. Tomorrow at 4 is our first planning meeting for the ag facility and the greenhouse with the mirrors. Mr. Noors and Ms. Mossick and Ms. Adams and Mr. Clander. And so we hope to share at the February board meeting kind of some sketches of what we want to do on that new Rise Up Fitness land for our kids. They have some fabulous ideas, and we just need to see what we can do within our budget. We do believe that the state funding we receive would cover this cost because this is a project associated with FEMA that was never put back. And so here's our chance to put it back in at the new site. And so we have some funding ideas there as well. Did I say that okay, Ms. Mossick? All right, got a thumbs up. The cool thing that the Muirs have mentioned is even getting into some crop pieces for kids that have animals to get free hay, for example, for their animals through our land. And I love ideas like that where none of our kids would ever have to buy hay again because we would grow it and store it and have it when they needed it. So I'm waiting and challenging the Muirs that I want to hear more stuff like that because I think that would just be incredible to be able to do those kind of things for our kids. Let's see. You can see where we are on the audit, the human sexuality framework, Trojan Academy. You've heard a lot tonight from Amanda about the certs and the licensings there at the bottom of that page. We're not doing our Trojan Serving Trojan Days because of COVID this year, but we definitely want to back on the calendar for 21-22. On page 5, there's more career industry certificate work there. We did make it into the master schedule, so this goal was met, the grade 7 course with Mr. Heckathorn, and then the grade 8 rotation for the different career modules at grade 8. And all grade 7 and 8 students are taking those courses. Our surveys are going well. The next one is going out next week for the mid-year climate survey check. Right now we have up to 9 questions on the survey. And Amanda and I are actually meeting tomorrow afternoon to get it in the Survey Monkey to get it sent out. On the Safe and Secure Schools, you know all about our ALICE training. You know about what Ms. Protka has been presenting. You know about our journey that we're no longer looking at the resource officer partnership there on bullet point 4, but our plan with the Guardian program, as well as having our own police department, has supplanted this goal. That's the audit piece on bullet point 5. You can see the bus monitor that with bus riders down, the monitors we have currently are enough, but we need to revisit it for the 21-22 school year. Page 4, this active shooter drill involving all safety officials and not just the one we had with West PD keeps eluding us. Just because we need support from a lot of different agencies to make that happen. So it's still an ongoing goal. Having the radios to actually do it is a big help. Goal 3, I've had committed to doing the staff salary review, and you can see that there in the red where it says notes. As you know, Mrs. Adams has done the work on the compensatory time plan, and that's in action. And she met with all affected folks on our staff. You know that we've already asked your approval for some individual salary updates, and Ms. Mossick and Ms. Adams and I are going to work on the comparison of the House Bill 3 raises from 1920 to what they were earning in 1819 to make sure that we met the goals of that plan as they were presented. As I've talked about before, we're going to have to review our substitute and bus driving pay ranges. We won't have to do substitute if we continue to do our permanent sub plan, which our principals have already requested we still have in place for 21-22, and they're being paid at an instructional aid level, which is greater than sub pay. But you're going to see a recommendation here later on in the packet about having a bus driver recruitment plan because we're going to start losing some for different reasons, and we need to have appropriate pay to recruit enough folks to drive our buses. So that one definitely needs to happen. You already approved the early resignation stipend you see there. You know about our virtual job fair. We've got the pay step incentive pieces posted. Miss Francis is doing a fabulous job in the instructional technologist role. Our budget right now can't handle that role to be an individual position, so it's right now other duties as assigned, but we couldn't have done the rollout without her for the Chromebooks. On the top of page 7, there's information there about how well having the additional administrative staff has worked at the elementary in particular. I've commended Mr. Cook there in that second bullet point for filling in as the high school assistant principal. The next section there is about the TIA piece that you heard Amanda talk about. And this was even a DAT meeting agenda item last night about the waiver and how it works with TIA. Just so y'all know, we've been offered by the state to waive T-test this year, but Mrs. Adams is having to see how that ties in with TIA, because the TIA funds say you can't have waivers for T-test. You have to have pieces of that in your plan. And so we're trying to get some clarifications there if we want to earn the TIA money.
But why would we want to waive T-tests?
Because there's no STAR components and just the COVID goings on, and they did it last year, so they were willing to do it again. I'm not saying we have to do it. That's coming from the state.
Okay.
And I know I don't want to speak for Amanda, she's sitting right there, but with TIA involved and us still wondering how that's going to play out this year, and even the funding, because there's no STAR scores now, or really A through F letter grade, there will be STAR scores. Let me say that correctly. We want answers about the TIA plan before we make a decision about that, because we don't want to shortchange our opportunities for our staff to earn those additional funds by a premature decision. Amanda, was that correctly said?
Yes, sir. There's just a lot of factors in there that we want to make sure we clarify first.
You can see some VIPS news. We still have our middle school parents. She just asked because of COVID, the waits. Still things going on for the teachers, though. It's just become virtual and not as in person, obviously, because of the COVID risk mitigation guidelines. Seesaw's been a hit. Course selection will be on Skyward, unlike last year when we couldn't get it done. The single sign-in solution is going well. Sometimes it's down though, so you can see my comment there about it, but it's been a good thing for our district. Can't do the volunteer appreciation breakfast again this year, so it's once again being postponed as we can't do an in-person breakfast, but I still want to continue recognizing our volunteers and even doing the Volunteer of the Year award again. On goal 5 on 18, again, a Yahoo for getting the superior rating again for 2 years in a row. We do not need to do the Brookhaven UIL plan because of our enrollment figures don't dictate it now. If that changes, we can put it back in place, and that has to do with 3A versus 4A. Our signage, we just need to work with Joanna on getting that done. You heard that earlier with the safety audit. This goal we knocked out of the ballpark on bullet point 4 with your approval with the 800 Chromebooks. And this goal is, or my statement isn't even true anymore because Ms. Adams is figuring out a way for every grade 4 student to have a Chromebook as well. So we're just slowly moving it down. So if you're keeping a scorecard on that one, that means grade 4 through 12 in our district would all have Chromebooks, which is just an amazing thing, and how quickly that happened and rolled out, and how great the kids are doing with it. We've had some gaggle reports, and you'll remember what that is from Amanda's presentation, but we've only had one damaged, and the kids are using them and appreciative of them. So it's going well. Still trying to figure out custodial services because the person that was helping out at Brookhaven quit. And so we're still working through that. And as you know, there's some leadership changes there. So that goal right now is in flux. Of course, our land purchases are that next bullet point. The storage project for under the stands was done, the maintenance retention, but you can see we have a large pile of things to shred. And then you can see the fixed assets inventory is coming back up, that Ms. Jones and Ms. Bosick will have to lead because we're back due for that. On the bottom of page 8, you can see we get into some of the standalones from feedback from our initiatives and you guys. You can see some ideas there on healthcare and wellness plans that still need not be forgotten because we couldn't get it done. This year, with changes in personnel there, we need to start the process over and see about getting some bids for our insurance services for our employees in order to lower that rate. There could be some things that even come from the state legislative session this year that we need to look at for that one as well. On the top of page 9, a lot of things that we have to consider for budget shortfall. I've emailed y'all several times about some things we're hearing from Austin about fund balance that's over our 3 months operating and any other monies that we have there. And so that's just a statement about that as a reminder. You can see some things there about the new elementary school, just as a reminder, some things related to the GMP and what we're responsible for and that third bullet point there and the way our previous person had set that up in the plan that I'm still running with. There are no surprises so far in what's owner responsible or provided, as you can see in that goal. The only surprise I had was the cost so far of the fee that the city is requiring of us, and you can see that there on that one bullet point there where it says note. I will tell you that the difference in the fees for Claycomb versus Jackson, we left Jackson's fees in the GMP and Claycomb's will be owner provided is the way we divided those out. And I know we were always discussing during the planning meetings with the predecessor on this project that all fees would be owner provided. So just want you to know the difference there of how it's drawn up. I have 2 recommendations there that I want you to consider. I'd love to see a board subcommittee with, if you would like, some outsiders from our community on it as well to serve as our bond construction oversight committee. I think it'd be a great way to show transparency in our work when we had concerns, as you know, from the bond period in the election about some questions that came up, just so we can share things through the West News in particular about updates there. And then I'd like for you to consider that next line there about the person that you can see listed there that I would like to engage about intending, especially the big construction meetings with me as someone with another set of ears that has a passion for construction and sat in on every single construction meeting from before he got off the board. So love to hear your thoughts on that one. If you would mind me, because it clearly says with your permission there before I approach the person. So just wanted to see what y'all thought about that one. The last one on this page on 9 is about morale and how we really need to be looking after our staff right now and how challenging this year has been with expectations and workload and just asking them to take on a lot of new responsibility and also staying well and even when they're not, how can we help and all the different things that are going on in their lives, even with their own families. You can see our Leadership Academy piece is going well there and the topics we've covered to date with our 4 new assistant principals, well, 3 and a sub. You can see there again about timelines for the West High School assistant principal there on that last bullet point. And again, in that section, I thank Mr. Cook for filling in because he's done a good job for us. On top of page 10, just some reminders there about administrative responsibilities with the race through an F, and those things will be addressed at these mid-year conferences with our principals about meeting those goals. And so there's a blurb there about that section. And that goes into the middle section is the first one's the elementary one and the second one's the middle school one. Because just as a reminder, the Cs are at middle school and elementary, both 71s, the high school's an 89. And so we had very specific goals and targets for those two campuses that can't be overlooked even without getting letter grades this year. Our goal is to have a what if letter grade to go along with the STAR data that we will generate here in the spring. You can see some work there we need to continue to do about recognizing all student groups and work. Some communication pieces there that were some concerns that we're working on. The need for the 4th science teacher at the high school is listed there. And then you can see some construction projects I want to mention. Obviously, you're already aware of the softball and baseball indoor enclosures and that work that's in progress. Bullet point 2 is the ag complex that's in progress. And then we've got these 3 other projects that I don't want to lose sight of. We need a cross-country track in what the substance is that it's made from, even through grant opportunities. We need to be thinking about for next August so our kids aren't practicing cross-country on the streets of West. When we have enough property now to put in a pretty impressive track on the outskirts of our property lines. You know, this year after we secured the Rise of Fitness, we just mowed it and they were just literally running on the remains after the mowings. So just thinking about that and the layout is something I don't want to lose sight of for that group of kids that do very well in that sport. It's even something our community could use as an exercise opportunity if we do this right. And the next one, you know, I'm very passionate about because of safety. I've shared with you all that this is probably going to be a work with the railroad plus the city of West and West ISD if I can get everybody involved. But we cannot continue to have Spring Street, especially when we move the elementary in the shape it's in for kids walking over that the rail hill, as I call it there at the corner of Spring and kind of North Washington there, just a little past it. Dangerous and growth on the grass dictates the kids walking the street. And again, the cars coming, if depending upon the height of the child, you can't even see them at the height of the rail hill there. And we've got to do something about that and provide a sidewalk with an appropriate crossing that's not Spring Street for the kids to walk to and from school. And so that one needs to be a priority. And then another one that's going to be a surprise, we have to get our district fiber off the aerial poles around town, and it behooves us to get it trenched. And so you can see that one there, that it would run from admin to Spring Street, then to the campuses. And right now it's up high, and that's lending itself to some challenges for us. So we're getting quotes for that as well. Sorry, I know this is a lot. Just one more page. Hang in there. Yeah. At the February board meeting, I'd like to bring you a new administrative title and duties list. And that's, of course, administrative contract time, where we do administrators in February, teachers in March, and at will in April. And we've gotten off our schedule recently and done teachers in April and at will in May. And I want to get us back on our usual schedule. It's just hard to do in May with everything else that's going on with school ending. So we need to get back on our 3-month schedule there. You can see the discussion needs to be had again about our start times. Oh, let me preface this because Ms. Crawshaw and I were even talking about this the other day, and I already had that down about what have we learned from COVID-19 times that we would love to consider to be just permanent pieces of West ISD's culture. And I kind of made a list based on things that had come from the survey and also discussions with administrators, but also things we need to talk to the teachers about with the remaining semester of the school year. So definitely the start and ending times are there when we end the semester, this permanent campus substitute plan, the realization that our bus drivers are gold and we need to have a recruitment plan for if we lose any. How, like even tonight, virtual video conferencing is a good thing, and you don't always have to do face-to-face and have people travel if you can do it this way, if that opportunity is there. And I gave you examples of the DAT and SHAC meetings and some parent conferences, and of course our board meetings. I've just been so impressed also with how our YouTube channel has developed just since March in 2020. We didn't even have this channel, guys. We've added 67 videos and over 670 subscribers. I mean, we are showing live events, including athletic events, all of our concerts, our meetings. It's just a great thing. And even if COVID goes away, I would love to see us still record our meetings, especially our board meetings, and post them, because it's a good thing. It's getting more people to our meetings, and people are going back and watching them even after the fact. So why not? Why wouldn't we do that for folks? So I'd like to see us continue to do that. Creation of a virtual learning plan for interested families. We have 84 kids that have chosen homeschool that were Trojans just last May. What are we going to do for them when the school year ends? Do we need to have a conversation about dedicated staff for some sort of a virtual West ISD Academy? Because through conversations with these families and calling them, meeting with them, are they assimilating to homeschool and virtual learning and away from our face-to-face instruction? What can we offer maybe to get them back? If just 5 of them come back to us, that's a teacher position. Or excuse me, that's half of a teacher position in 8. If we get 10 of them back, it's a teacher position. So we could easily construct a staffing plan if we wanted to have a virtual learning academy here in West. Maybe a way to attract new students and new sources of funding and doesn't impact our facilities or staffing. It would pay for itself, and maybe even for a profit if we do it right. So that's on the list. The role of a crisis counselor, effective communication tools with our families, the Chromebook plan, the hotspots and need for internet connectivity across our community. You're going to laugh at this next one, but we need paper towel dispensers at the middle school, high school. We've learned that's a must and they need to stay. Breakfast and lunch in the classroom at the elementary. There's a need there through the new school opening. And again, I mentioned this earlier about having capped class sizes has been a good thing this year. For a budget cycle, you can see I mentioned some things about construction planning and what Joanne is planning to do, our budget meetings by campus principal and department this year. Big one you can see there is our homeschool families, about reaching out to them and even doing home visits to see about recruiting them back and what would it take, and back to that virtual plan idea. We've got to get some firm enrollment projections because our current enrollment is getting dangerously close to not being able to sustain our current staffing plans. And through attrition of folks that retire or resign, we of course can look at those. But you know, that's a challenging way to decrease a staffing budget, because you've heard me talk about that for years. And so we got to get back in the idea of how can we grow enrollment back post-COVID. Again, starts with the homeschool families, and 2 of you have asked me about our transfer policy in the last week, and we need to look at what we were stopping there and how we can strengthen that application and review process if we want to open that back up again. You can see that the 3-year-old idea is still on my mind, especially with open rooms at the elementary. I think there's a need there if we really want to hit early childhood in a unique way in West, that we need to have a conversation about going even younger than a 4-year-old program. The FEMA closeout keeps me up at night along with Joanna. I thought it would move faster after our last meeting, and it's just government, it's slow. But you know, we have a need for that to be finalized as we previously discussed. And I gave you ideas there of things that we've got to earmark with those funds. Obviously, there's the new West Elementary piece that's owner provided. If we do not earmark funds for technology replacement, turf replacement, the projects I mentioned before, any other thing that we want to include in there, we'll have a very hard time unless we start budgeting now for especially technology and turf replacement, being able to do it in any calendar year without it being a bond, or of course going out for a bank loan. And that's not good ways to do these recycle plans. We just put out there almost 900 Chromebooks. So we have to have a plan in 3 to 5 years to replace them, or our Chromebook initiative was all for naught. And so we have a way to do that with the FEMA closeout, as you know, that we need to consider. Same way with the turf. At some point here in the future, turf is usually 7 to 10 years. We're going to have a baseball, softball, and football field that all will come up at the same time that we'll have to replace for safety reasons at some point, and we need to have a plan for that. And so I'm trying to help with the future of West with property, facilities, and those recycle plans. And whoever it is on the board or in this chair, at least we've made the decisions to help them so they can make those plans truly work for the future staff and students of West. Trying to make us future-proof, if you want to give it a name. I don't want to think about the now. I want to take care of the future West ISD. And then the last piece there, Amanda mentioned this one, a big one that we have to add now to my appraisal, because it says it in the law, as those House Bill 3 goals now are tied to me as superintendent, my ability to get them done. So that's what that last one is. And I had to give you again our mid-year data. As you know, we didn't have STAR data, so it's weird to report this because the last data points I have to give you are from 2019. So that was kind of an odd graph to put together because I have nothing new to add to it because they canceled STAR last spring. So this is the data right now on my appraisal and our board goals that will still be in place until we get our new STAR data in June, and will be in the July graphs. That was a lot. And I know it's 10 o'clock, but we said January was the time to go through these goals and to talk about them. So I wanted to make sure we covered those. So questions or if you have comments, you know, you can call, come see me. Just wanted you to see that very few things on there are not in progress. Many of them are even complete or will be by the end of the year. And we have a lot of great things happening in our district, and I'm very grateful for your support and the help of Carla, Joanna, and Amanda to see this work through. And I couldn't be more thrilled with our campus leadership right now and their ability to help us get things done too at that level. So we have a great team, and everybody's in the right seats, and we have a bright future.
Very good. Thank you very much. So we appreciate all the time and effort that you put in, David, in a very, very difficult time. So
My pleasure. This is a wonderful place, guys. West is blessed.
all right. If there's no further ado, the floor is open for a motion to adjourn this Zoom meeting.
Pick me.
Jason, I picked you first.
So much for the 2 hours, Jason.
Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't too, it just went by so fast. I thought it was like an hour and a half.
Before we adjourn, I just feel sorry for Ms. Mosick. I just have to find out, do you have to do this all day long to keep your lights on? Do you do that?
Hey, can we get her, get that fixed?
Professional sitter, so I don't move very often. So but I'm really excelling at my sitting skills. I'm pretty awesome on that.
We need to buy her a parakeet or some kind of bird in a cage so it flops around.
Ceiling fan.
Okay, Jason.
Wait, I gotta laugh. One more thing. Why is Sandra Keller just now getting on the meeting? Is that Sandra? What's she doing? Sandra is jumping in on the meeting as we're ending.
It's too late to get credit.
Yeah, nice try, Sandra, if you can hear us.
It's been connecting to audio for a couple hours, I think now.
Oh, poor Sandra. I just noticed she was in that little box there, and I was like, what is she doing?
Well, Jason has made the motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Okay, Holly seconds it. All those in favor, say aye and cut your computer off. Thank you very much for your time and effort and stuff. I appreciate it very, very much. Wish y'all all a good week.